Hello, Professor Boyd. I apologize for my background in advance. This is the most presentable place that I currently have in my apartment. But I wanted to jump in straight away to my research topic and what I ended up finding through the process of the research proposal. So I titled my research paper Research into the Gender Switching Realm of Online Video Gaming. So I wanted to just briefly explain why I was passionate about doing research in online video gaming and gender switching specifically. So I wanted to kind of go back to the height of the pandemic in 2020. I was video gaming 10 plus hours a day, in chats, part of communities, building friendships with other online PlayStation video gamers. So this felt like the most natural, the most authentic way to approach trying to find a topic for my research. I wanted it to feel relatable to me, and I wanted to be passionate about it. And I wanted to highlight a topic that I feel like I would notice, but didn't really ever find a lot of research on until I started exploring and I started doing the work for this course. So that being said, I wanted to briefly go over my RQ, which is how are the discursive actions of individuals that challenge the societal construct of gender as found within the online gaming community influenced by the consequences they may encounter amongst fellow gamers in socio interactions that they face while gender switching in a heteronormative society. So essentially what that is, breaking it down, is I wanted to see if there are advantageous motives behind online PlayStation video gamers choosing avatars and characters that are opposite their sex or their identified gender. This is something that's sort of unique because in online video gaming, there tends to be the opportunity to customize your characters or to play a specific character. And what I wanted to see was through my methodology approach, which was going to be a rhetorical analysis, I'm looking for thematic elements that arise from certain individuals playing characters that are opposite to their gender or sex, and seeing if within these choices they are fulfilling ascribed societal norms and gender roles to these characters. And if they are doing this, are there benefits? Are there rewards? Is there an advantage to playing into these roles in an online setting? So I broke down my lit review into a couple of different points, which is first, sexuality versus gender as a concept. And this is essentially to just sort of break down the difference between sexuality and gender as a societal construct, and looking at those types of elements in and through the lens of the postmodern era. Secondly, I went into media as an impact and as an influencing factor. And I mean not to say like news, Instagram, social media. There's so many different ways that media can impact our knowledge and the way that we view things. And it was important for me to highlight that. Thirdly, gender switching, which is the topic that I really dove into, which is essentially the concept of individuals playing into gender roles and ascriptions to societal norms opposite of their sex or gender. So there was a study that was conducted by Rosa Marti and some of her associates, which looked at male gamers in the World of Warcraft setting who played female avatars. But their research findings were that these men didn't have any sort of intention to persuade others into believing that they were female. They just prefer to play these female avatars for their own aesthetic, for their own liking of that look. But what was really interesting and what I took away in their findings was that they found through their surveys and through their observations that gender is performed essentially, and that gender is really unencumbered by sex, meaning that masculinity is not just restricted to men or being male, and it goes the same for femininity. It's not just for women or being female. So this really was sort of what I took away and what allowed me to dive into my methodology the way that I did, which was essentially to expand on something that I felt just could go even further and go even deeper into the psyche of why individuals are doing this. And so rhetorical analysis is my approach. Initially, I was going to do sort of more of a mixed methods survey. I do have a questionnaire, but it isn't necessarily to quantify things. It's just to get a baseline feel for where people are thematically, and how they're feeling, and that was what my rhetorical analysis was gonna be over. So I just wanted to share really quickly some of the questions. Just two of the ones out of the four that I did was the first one, which is, while gender swapping in an online video game, do you feel a sense of empowerment by embracing a feminine persona? So this was going to be an open-ended question that was going to be presented on the Instagram format, through a Instagram story where respondents, PlayStation respondents, could just share their feelings on this question. The following question was going to be, when gender swapping, do you take on ascribe characteristics associated with understood gender roles? And this was to sort of, again, get a baseline feel for if PlayStation gamers are even aware that they're ascribing to societal standards and norms. And through these answerings, I was going to compile them, review the data, and find thematic elements that, well, if there were thematic elements that were equally shared amongst the respondents. It was sort of exciting to kind of go through this process in general. I just found it to be expansive and to be something that I'm not familiar with. So it was a bit of a challenge, and there might have been a few missteps on my end as far as understanding the complexity of everything. But I definitely feel like I can take away a sense of understanding on how the immensity of doing research, the different types of research, and how fundamental it is to build upon other research. So that was my biggest thing. I wanted to do something that was so broad, so crazy, and I realized that it's okay to step back and to look around amongst peers and to look at work that's been done and then find ways at innovating that and expanding that. And I think that through my lit review, my methodology, that it is definitely worth having this conversation regarding gender and sexuality and its place in video gaming, and to find out if playing into these gender roles does lead to a more advantageous outcome while you're video gaming. So that's all I have for now. I appreciate your time and your patience throughout the semester with just us understanding everything that methods in communication really is about. That's all I have. So thank you once again.